At 1447 on August 18, 1944, Lieutenant Royce Priest watched his squadron commander's P-51 Mustang erupt in flames over occupied France. Thick black smoke poured from the engine as the crippled fighter spiraled toward a golden wheat field just behind German lines. Priest was 21 years old. He had been in combat for barely 2 months, and the man he idolized, Major Bert Marshall, was about to become a prisoner of war. The ambush had been perfectly executed. German flak gunners had concealed an anti-aircraft battery inside what looked like an ordinary railway boxcar. As Marshall led his 4-ship flight in for a low-level strafing run, the sides of the railcar dropped away, revealing 20mm and 40mm guns, already tracking their approach. At point-blank range, the formation flew straight into a wall of fire. By August 1944, the 8th Air Force was losing pilots over France at an alarming rate. German flak units had mastered concealment, hiding guns in haystacks, barns, farmhouses, and now railway cars marked with Red Cross symbols. Low-altitude missions had become especially lethal. The 355th Fighter Group alone had lost 17 pilots in 2 months. Some were killed instantly, others crash-landed behind enemy lines and spent the rest of the war in Stalag Luft prison camps. A few simply vanished. Major Bert Marshall was not even supposed to be flying that day. As commander of the 354th Fighter Squadron, he could have delegated the mission, but Marshall had a reputation for leading from the front. He had arrived in early June with just 3 hours of P-51 time after transitioning from the P-40. His second combat mission was D-Day. On June 6th, he shot down a German Ju-87 over Normandy. 2 weeks later, he destroyed 2 Bf-109s. By early August, he had 5 confirmed kills, becoming an ace faster than anyone in the history of the 355th. That same aggressive style now left him in a burning cockpit over enemy territory. Lieutenant Priest had admired Marshall long before the war. Marshall had been a legendary Texas high school quarterback and an All-American honorable mention at Vanderbilt. When Priest learned they were assigned to the same squadron, he considered it the luckiest break of his career. Now Priest watched Marshall's Mustang descend, trailing fire. The Packard-built Merlin engine had taken a direct hit. A second round ruptured the radiator scoop, dumping coolant into the slipstream. The aircraft had only minutes of flight time remaining. Standard procedure was clear: mark the crash site, radio it in, and return to base. Attempting a pickup was not just discouraged, it was considered impossible. The P-51 Mustang was a single-seat fighter, no room for a passenger. No training for landing in enemy wheat fields. No doctrine for what Priest was about to do. Marshall's aircraft vanished below the tree line. Priest pushed his control stick forward and began descending toward the same field. Marshall ordered him to abort. Priest's hand hovered over the radio switch. He could follow procedure. He could turn for England. He could let the Germans take Marshall. Instead, his hand stopped. He had already decided. Landing a P-51 in a wheat field bordered on suicide, the liquid-cooled Merlin sat low in the fuselage. Any obstruction taller than 18 inches could rupture the cooling system. The landing gear was built for paved runways, not farmland. One hidden rut could flip the aircraft. Priest ignored all of it. He dropped flaps to 40 degrees, slowed to 90 miles per hour, and lined up on the longest stretch of wheat he could find. The wheels hit hard. The Mustang bounced twice, then settled into the soft earth, stopping barely 300 yards from the tree line. Above him, the remaining Mustangs circled in disbelief. Within seconds, a German military truck raced toward the field. Infantry, 20 to 30 men. The escort pilots attacked immediately, shredding the vehicle with .50 caliber fire. More vehicles appeared. Patrols converged from every direction. Time was running out. Priest searched the tree line. Smoke still rose from the woods. Marshall would be destroying his aircraft with thermite grenades, standard procedure to deny the enemy its technology. Then a figure emerged, Major Bert Marshall. His flight suit was blackened with soot. He waved his arms furiously, ordering Priest to leave without him. Priest climbed out of the cockpit. He unbuckled his parachute and dropped it onto the wing. Then he removed his survival dinghy and threw it into the wheat. Without a parachute, he could not bail out. Without a dinghy, he would drown in the channel. His message was unmistakable. He was not leaving France without his commander. Marshall stopped running. German soldiers were now visible above the wheat. The escort Mustangs were nearly out of ammunition. Marshall sprinted the final distance. The cockpit of a P-51D was designed for one man. Marshall climbed in first, sliding down against the armored seat. Priest climbed in after him, sitting directly on Marshall's lap. Their bodies were crushed together, the control stick wedged between Priest's knees. Priest closed the canopy. There was barely an inch of clearance. The heat was suffocating. He shoved the throttle forward. 1,200 horsepower roared through the airframe. The overloaded Mustang crawled through the wheat. Airspeed climbed 60 at 70 or 80. A normal P-51 lifted off at around 100 miles per hour. With 2 men aboard, Priest estimated he needed at least 115. The tree line rushed toward them. At 95 miles per hour, Priest pulled back. The wheels left the ground. The Mustang staggered into the air. Stall warning blared. Branches scraped the belly. Then they were clear. 2 men, 1 seat, alive. But they were still 200 miles from England. The aircraft was dangerously overweight. The engine was overheating. Wheat clogged the radiator. Coolant streamed from the fuselage. The Merlin was slowly destroying itself. The escort Mustangs formed up on either side, guardians now instead of fighters. Priest chose speed over caution. Better to ditch in the Channel than crash in occupied France. After 47 minutes, the French coast appeared. Then the English Channel, 21 miles of cold water. They had no parachutes, no dinghy. The temperature needle touched the red line. Then England appeared through the haze. 12 miles from base, the engine began to misfire. Cylinders failed one by one. Priest enriched the mixture and prayed. Steeple Morden Airfield came into view. Fire trucks lined the runway. Everyone on base knew an impossible aircraft was inbound. Priest landed fast and heavy. The Mustang rolled to a stop halfway down the runway. The engine sputtered and died. Ground crews ran toward the aircraft expecting 1 wounded pilot. Instead, 2 men unfolded from a single cockpit. Marshall collapsed immediately, his legs numb from nearly 2 hours of compression. Priest climbed down, shaking with exhaustion. Mechanics later said the engine had been seconds from seizing. Across the airfield, pilots and ground crews stood in silence, staring at the wheat-covered Mustang. For years, the idea of a piggyback rescue had been dismissed as fantasy. Yet here it was, cooling on the tarmac. For the men of the 355th, the rescue meant something deeper. It answered a fear every pilot carried. If I go down, will I be left behind? Marshall recovered quickly and returned to duty. Priest waited as the chain of command deliberated. By regulation, he should have faced court-martial. The case reached Major General James Doolittle. After reviewing the evidence, Doolittle chose a middle path. Priest would not be court-martialed. He would receive the Distinguished Service Cross, not the Medal of Honor. The medal recognized courage. Withholding the higher honor acknowledged that such acts could not become standard practice. At the ceremony, Doolittle told Priest plainly what he had done was both the bravest and the most foolish thing he had witnessed in the war. The rescue became legend. Others tried, some succeeded, others doubled the losses. The tactic was never authorized, never banned. Commanders simply looked the other way. Both men survived the war. No plaque commemorates the rescue, but the story endured. 2 men, 1 seat, 1 dying engine, and a decision made in a wheat field that refused to accept the impossible.